Hello, and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. This is a show that you're listening to right now. I mean, that's what these are, these things that we make that are like artful sometimes and sometimes funny. This one's sometimes learny, too, I think. Yeah.
I like the idea of it being artful, though. I think that's a great way to describe it.
Thank you.
Just no matter what the journey is, it's a little bit artful.
Yeah, just a little bit of art for your day, and some science, I guess, too. If you've never listened to the show before, thanks for coming. This show is about science-y stuff. We answer questions that people send in. Usually we ask those questions to be ridiculous. If you want to send in a question, we'll tell you all about how to do that later. I am Trace Dominguez. I'm a science communicator, and I make things all across the internet and some television. And then, of course, I'm here with my friend Deboki Chakravarti. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. It's great to be here. I'm excited to talk about some questions. I'm also a science communicator, I guess. I also do things on different parts of the internet. But here today, I'm with you to talk about science.
I love it.
Yeah.
And Julian is off today, so it's just the two of us, which, maybe that's a relief. I don't know, for the one guy who rated us poorly. But we've overcome that rating. I brought it up enough times. I probably should make fun of Julian when he's not here, except
what's the story there? I mean, I guess maybe people have heard this.
Early on, we got a rating of 5, and then we got another rating of 3, and the second rating of 3 was like, Trace is great, Julian's okay.
No!
It took us until this week, I think, or like a week ago, to go from a 4.9 out of 5 because of that one guy.
Yep.
Who was like, Julian's fine.
Yep.
So
but
now,
not that you've been tracking.
No, not Julian looks clearly often because he brought it up on an episode recently. Like, we've done it. We're at 5 now.
Yep.
It only took 2 years. That's fine. Julian's more than okay. He's like okay plus. Again, if you haven't listened, welcome. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's answer our first question from Haurane that says, how does time in dreams work? Yeah.
I don't even know how time in real life works. So
there's numbers, and then the numbers just go up.
But do they?
Good point. Good point.
Do they only go up because we perceive it to go up and we know no other way to live? And that is how the time works. I
mean, it's all made up, so sure.
Yeah.
Haurane elaborated, a few times in the recent past, I woke up remembering my dreams. In those dreams, I, quote, lived through, end quote, hours or even days. My alarm clock always showed that I had slept at most 2 or 3 hours. What gives?
Yeah.
What gives?
Yeah, what does give? How can you live like a lifetime in a dream and then like real life, you're like, oh, no, I'm still just in the same night.
Still here. Do you have like any recurring dreams or anything like that?
Recurring?
Or, like dreams that stand out to you?
I have this dream from college that I still remember.
Oh, tell me.
So I was a sophomore and I was taking organic chemistry. This is real life. In real life, I was taking organic chemistry. And in the dream, the reason why I remember this, I had this night, and it was like definitely before a quiz. And in the dream, I was some kind of molecule. And I was like, I need to lose this hydrogen. So I woke up and I took off my pajama pants and I went back to sleep. And then later, I had another dream where I was like, I need that hydrogen back. And so I woke up again and I put my pants back on. And that's the dream that I will always remember. Everything else I have forgotten. That one I will always remember.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah.
Did you have a roommate who was like, why are you taking your pants off?
She was probably just like, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
What is happening? And you're like, I gotta lose the hydrogen.
Gotta go. The orbitals, they're in the way.
I'm too saturated. Yep. I gotta get out
How about
of here.
you? Have you had any?
I don't really have I don't have any recurring dreams, but like dreams that stand out. The first time I had a soundtrack in my dream, that was cool.
Oh, a soundtrack.
I was swinging on swings. And it was like that 90s music video where it's like kind of like glowy. Mm-hmm. Everything's kind of glowy and diffused. And for some reason, that song, I Love You, Always, Forever, Near and Far, it was like playing. And I'm like, what is this weird song? Why is this playing? It's not like my favorite song or anything. And I remember thinking, what is happening?
Yeah.
Why am I on a swing? Why am I in the middle of a field? What is happening?
So weird. And it wasn't like that song was playing out in real life.
It could be. That's actually something that we're going to get into, is like how real life can affect the dreams. But, I don't really remember a lot of my dreams. And some people do and some people don't. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But it's neat to think of the dreams that like stand out to us. Right? I dream a lot about... Julian's going to be so mad. I dream a lot about like jobs that I've had at work that I've done, either doing work like this where I'm like not usually on set or something. I think maybe because that's too much fun. But like I dream about working on the island at the fort sometimes. And, like, firing the cannon and giving people tours.
Yeah.
I can't have an episode where I don't bring it up. I'm actively trying not to bring it up.
That's everyone take a shot.
Oh, jeez. And then I dream about that. I'd have stress dreams where I'm like clenching my teeth and stuff. But anyway, time in dreams is sort of separate from this. This is more just like a fun exploration of us as people. We know, I think, inherently that time in dreams can be different. Like the number of times you wake up, your alarm goes off, you know you have 9 minutes. Exactly. Which, by the way, is because when they first invented the snooze button, they made it so that it could go 9 minutes and it couldn't go anymore because it couldn't get into double digits. So they were like, 9 minutes, that's the snooze button time. And it's just been the snooze button time since forever. It's very cool. But have you ever had like a dream in the snooze window?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's 9 minutes, but sometimes the dream is like way longer.
Right. It's very trippy.
Minutes. It's super trippy. And there's a reason we have that. It's actually part of the lucid dreaming strategy is to kind of wake up and go back to sleep really quick because you'll like jump right into REM sleep. But we'll get to that in a minute too. Okay. So this kind of idea that Haurane is talking about has been portrayed in movies and books and television shows. And even in ancient times, they talked about how dreams are interesting. And I found this ancient Babylonian, I didn't find it. I just found a write-up about it. But this ancient Babylonian tablet from 2700 BCE, where the Sumerian priest king is writing about a dream he had while in the temple of the goddess Nina. And he's like dreaming about people he knows and about the temple needs work. And so he wakes up and like donates a bunch of money. And I was like, sure. I'm sure those priests in that temple knew what they were doing.
Can you imagine like the first conversation humans had about their dreams where they realize like other people also like go to sleep and see a story in their head and they're just like, okay, I'm not the only one. Like I'm not going crazy.
I'm not a crazy person. Yeah. I can't even imagine what that's like. It's just like, hey, Og, last night while we were all asleep, I don't know if they would even have words for sleep, but I guess they would. After we were all asleep, I totally was seeing you and Augette running around. Yeah. We were hunting.
Yep. Forgot to put our clothes on.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Then I took my pants off because there was just too much hydrogen.
Yeah, the hydrogens, yeah. They knew about the hydrogens. Yeah. They're like standing up in front of a classroom, naked, forgot to study for the test, and their hydrogens there were too many. The classic hydrogen dream.
And Og's like, I think you're crazy. I don't know what any of those words mean.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep spiraling with other questions that I'm going to have about dreams. Because now I'm also wondering, like, you know how we have all these, like, dreams that are, like, classic ones? Like, people forgetting their clothes and they're standing up in front of the classroom. People forgetting to study for a test. Do people have those dreams without being told that they're classic dreams? Like, does being told that that's a recurring dream that people have, like, seed that idea for the dream in your subconscious and then, like, make that more common?
I don't know. Actually, I've done videos about dreams before, so I didn't research it specifically for this episode, but I do know that, like, dream interpretation is sort of, fuzzy, sort of woo-woo. There's not a lot of science to support it, but there are some dreams that tend to kind of go across without having heard of them before, like dreams of teeth falling out and stuff. Right. Like, those are very common across different groups. They aren't always like the teeth are falling out. Sometimes they're hurting or they're broken or, this is again coming from memory. So I would imagine there are some dreams that are just like anxiety inducing,
That makes sense.
My dentist did say that the reason the mouth is connected to our health is because it's the biggest hole in our body. So it does make sense that you wouldn't want your teeth to fall out of your big hole.
Right. I don't think I've ever thought of the mouth as the biggest hole in my body, and now, wow.
Just start calling it the big hole. Be like, a big hole hurts.
Yeah.
I feel like people would not like that. But yeah, dream interpretation is really interesting. But again, there's not a lot of science to it. This actual ancient Babylonian tablet, when they refer to it as dream interpretation, because he woke up from this dream and he thought like, oh, well, the temple was falling down in my dream, so I should donate money because I don't want the temple to fall down. And maybe that's like a premonition that the temple is like not being funded enough or something, or something like that. So people do, I think, inherently think that their dreams are full of meaning.
Right.
And they probably are in some ways, which we'll get into why some of that is. But I don't know if it's like spiritual, supernatural meaning, where it's like, oh, well, they are predicting the future, as much as like the organization of your thoughts and thinking and taking the thoughts and things that you've experienced either recently or that day and like cramming them into stuff that you can relive and reanalyze, which is, there is science to support that. So before we can talk a little bit about dreams, I want to talk a bit about sleep because I think it's really interesting and people generally are bad at it. Part of that, I think, and you also have a little kiddo, is we have to teach kiddos how to chew and swallow. This is not just a behavior you just know how to do for some reason. You'd think that you know how to, like, my kid can put food in his face, but then he's like, like he doesn't think about chewing. So you think like, oh, well, we just know how to do that. There's nothing that you just know how to do.
Yeah.
So we think we're good at sleep and we think we know how to do it but then we acknowledge that we can't like run a marathon. We have to train for it, but we would never acknowledge that you should probably think about and train to be good at sleeping, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But sleep is universal, actually across everything that lives. Sleep has 4 stages, 2 phases, 4 to 6 cycles per night. Do you know the 4 sleep stages?
All I know is like REM, right? That's
REM.
one of them. Most
important, well, most famous, I would say.
Yeah. But otherwise, no,
important,
I do not know the rest of them.
Well, there's stage 1, then stage 2, then stage 3.
Oh.
And after stage 3, if you want to guess.
5.
I mean, if there was a 5.
Yeah.
Stage 4. And stage 4 is REM. So it's sometimes called like 1N because it's non-REM, is transition. This is where you like are falling asleep. You're transitioning from wakefulness to sleep. It's about 5% of overall sleep time. And this is when you ever been falling asleep or falling asleep near someone and they start like doing that weird jerk thing. And they're like, wah,
yeah.
Wah. Yeah.
That's how I know my husband's falling asleep. He like always does this weird kick and I'm always like, what's going on over there?
Yeah. Well, what's going on is the brain is handing off activity from one part of the brain to another. And sometimes during that handoff, there's these little jerks. And that's just literally part of the brain being like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to give this to you, other part of the brain, so that you can take care of not moving anything while we're asleep. And during that transfer, you get the hypnagogic jerk, which is cool. Stage 2, or 2N, is sleep. Surprise. 45% of sleep time, you have slow brain waves, bursts of activity, but mostly pauses. And then from here, there's like a fork in the road, and you can either go to stage 3 or go right to REM sleep. Stage 2 is 45% of sleep time. So almost half of your sleep time, you're in stage 2. Stage 3N is deep sleep, slow wave sleep. This is about a quarter, 25% of sleep time in adults, but more in babies and kids. Again, slow brain waves. This is when your brain repairs any injuries that you might have. They reinforce your immune system. There's some burst of brain activity. And this is the sleep that makes you feel really rested. So if you don't get to stage 3, this is when you start to have problems. And then again, this is a cycle. So after stage 3, you'll go back to stage 2, and then maybe you'll go to stage 4, and maybe you'll go to stage 3 at the end of that. It's the if-then statement or whatever. Boolean. So then REM is stage 4, which is again 25% of sleep. So 50% transition and sleep, quote unquote. So 1 and 2. The other 50% is either REM or non-REM.
Okay.
And so 25% of sleep is the eyes twitching, the brain is active, and the scans of the brain actually look like you're awake. And this, of course, is when dreaming happens. So pretty important. REM stages can last early in the night for like 10 minutes. Pretty short. And as the night goes on, it can get up to an hour of REM sleep, which is pretty cool. And again, as we're doing this, we're doing 4 to 6 cycles of sleep per night. So most of what we know about dreams and the dream state comes from lucid dreamers. Do you know what lucid dreaming is?
Vaguely. Like these are people who are aware of their dreams as they're happening, right?
Yeah. You say these are people. Like, have you ever had a lucid dream? Or you're like, no, I don't know. Well,
I mean, I had the hydrogens.
Sure, the hydrogen. Were you aware that you were dreaming?
That's a good question. Yeah, I feel like I've only had 1 or 2 dreams, and I don't remember them now, but I feel like I've had 1 or 2 dreams where I knew in the dream that I was having a dream.
Yeah.
But otherwise, for the most part, I think I haven't known. So yeah I don't think I'm much of a lucid dreamer.
Yeah, I'm not really either. But same. I've had a couple of times where I'm like, I'm dreaming right now.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
And I can like the one time I remember controlling my dream and being like, I think I kissed a girl I wanted to kiss or something because I was like, I'm going to dream. I can try this.
Do whatever you want.
And it worked out in the dream, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I woke up and I was like, that was crazy. But that was the only time it ever happened.
Yeah.
But lucid dreaming, yes. Dreamers have control of themselves in their dreams. They're aware that they are dreaming.
Right.
We've known about this for centuries. A very famous lucid dreamer is a 19th century French aristocrat, Marquis d'Hervé de Saint-Denis.
Yeah.
We're going to call him Marquis. He was a lucid dreamer, found out when he was 13 that he was a lucid dreamer, and he spent like decades just trying stuff in his dreams, and he wrote it down, which is super, super cool. There's a book that he published in 1867, Dreams and How to Guide Them.
Interesting.
Really interesting. And right after that, like into the late 19th century, of course, then we have psychoanalysis comes up. So they sort of were like, whatever, this like French Saint Denis guy, like ignore that book. And so it like fell out of favor for a long time, which is super fascinating because he knew what was going on in his dream. He knew the people that were in his dream, and he could remember them so vividly because a lot of lucid dreamers have more vivid dreams. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they wake up and write them down. You don't usually remember them without that. So what he would do is he'd wake up, he'd write down his dreams, and he would kind of study them more or less. He would just try things to see if they would work. He was like one of the first people to realize that, at least and write it down, that people were dreaming about people that they knew. Before that, we thought that there was like this spiritualist, like divine, like they were just like these people from who knows where. Maybe we didn't know them, you know.
Yeah.
They're speaking to us from the beyond kind of thoughts. And he was like, no, I know everybody. That's like this person and that's that person. They're all like populated with people I already know. And he wrote that down, which was pretty cool. The New Scientist had a write-up about him and wrote, quote, he entered the tallest building he could find and climbed to a window in the highest room. Tranquility settled on him as he paused a moment to admire the perfection of the scene below. Then he jumped. He tried to kill himself in his dream just to see if he could. He tried to jump out a window. He tried to slice his own throat. He tried other very grisly things. And the interesting thing is the quote continues, confusion followed. Within a minute, he was back on the ground, unscathed. I found myself in the square in front of a cathedral among a curious crowd which had gathered around a dead man. He said that they told me the man had thrown himself from the cathedral tower, and I saw his body being carried away. And so his brain like protected him from being the dead person by just like jump cutting to a different character in the dream. And now he was that other character, like he's Agent Smith or something from the Matrix, which is wild. But he said every time he tried to like hurt himself, his brain would like be like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Oh, wow.
Now you're somebody else in the dream. And he's just like, yeah, super interesting. And he would like try and break through the dream space and control his dreams in a really interesting way. Like he would dream about somebody he wanted to dream about. So he would either smell or have somebody like put a smell near him or like a flavor of something. Like he was looking at this painting. A lot of the times it was hot ladies, Deboki. He was a hot lady. He was in his like whatever 20s or 30s and he was single. So he would dream about hot ladies so that he could whatever. Yeah. And he was looking at a painting and he was chewing on this very flavorful root. Then he asked one of his servants to put it in his mouth while he was asleep, and it succeeded in making him dream about the hot lady in the painting so that he could like hang out with her, have a nice time. He wrote in his thing, he says, the remainder of this is of no interest here. after that worked.
My brain didn't protect me from this one.
Yeah. He's like, maybe we did something a gentleman will never tell about his dream lady. So now, after the psychoanalysis era, not that it ended, it's still going, but after we were like kind of fell out of fetishizing psychoanalysis and opened it up a little bit to a more holistic view, we started looking at this book and taking lucid dreamers and moving them into labs where we could study them and talk to them, which was super cool. And Haurane, I know this is a long kind of run up, but we're going to get there because this is how we know how time works in dreams, or a little bit.
Yeah.
So, of course, whenever anybody brings this up, what's the first like pop culture thing a lot of people think of?
Inception.
Yeah, Inception.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent dream film. You can control things and walk around. There's even dreams within dreams. There's like the specific rules of 5 minutes in the real world gives you hour in the dream world. And they like use that to great effect to where he's like got 5 dreams deep or whatever, 4 dreams deep or whatever. And so like a minute in the real world is like hours and days or whatever in the fourth level. It's very complicated and yet really compelling. Great movie. Christopher Nolan directed it, and there was a featurette in the documentary where he talks about it, and it aligned, I thought, really well with what Marquis was experiencing, and that is that he thinks that the brain, part of the reason time moves differently in dreams, he thinks, is because the brain uses the simple cut, the old schoolest movie trick there is.
Right.
Cutting the film and putting it somewhere else. I read in my film studies book, I had a few film studies classes, that the first time someone cut film and moved the audience to a different place, they were worried that the audience would freak out.
Oh.
Because in your real life, that never happens unless something bad has happened to you. So they had no idea what would happen if this mass audience in a darkened theater all of a sudden went from one place to a different place and everybody just kind of accepted it and when nobody seemed to care at all.
Yeah.
Which is super neat.
Yeah. I mean, I guess how is that in some ways, it's so easy to say that's funny that they thought about that given how cuts, everything's cut, Yeah.
Now we're just jump cuts.
If you spend 2 seconds on a scene, that's 2 seconds too long.
Yeah.
But I mean, presumably people are coming from having watched plays and stuff that change scenes, but I guess it's not the same abruptness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's things move around. It's really the only time that I can think of that there's, other than again, a really bad time, you hit in the head or something, where there's a break in your stream of consciousness, unless you're asleep, which is sort of the point. So he talked about this, and other scientists have said similar, that the brain probably cuts out the boring parts. And that's part of how time works in dreams, is you think you're experiencing everything, but it's more like a movie where you're experiencing a conversation. You skip over the walk to the next place. You're just in the next place, and now you're having another conversation or doing another thing, which I think really starts to get to Haurane's question. There's obviously some time dilation happening in Inception, as we mentioned, but the time dilation that they do is specifically one way, right? It's everything in the dream is somehow faster than in real life. Mm-hmm. However, that doesn't actually seem to be the case for real humans, not in movies. Are you good at judging how long you've been asleep? I'm pretty good at it. I can be I'm probably asleep for a few hours. It's probably if I wake up to pee in the middle of the night or something, I'm it's probably 2, it's probably 4. I generally know what time it is.
No, I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea how long I've been asleep.
You've been asleep 5 minutes and you're my God.
So well rested now.
You're wake up. And they're it's 11 p.m. Yeah. I don't know what time you go to bed. That might be, maybe you go to bed at 8 p.m. I don't know. Some people can tell themselves to wake up at a specific time.
Oh.
They tell themselves in their head or talk to themselves, I guess, and they're I'm going to wake up at 4, and they just wake up at 4.
Yep.
That's
I'm good at doing that in that I can tell myself that I have to wake up at a certain time, and I will wake up an hour before that.
Yeah, I do that when I have a flight and I'm worried about missing it, and it's at 5 in the morning and I have to get in the car or whatever. Yeah, I have to leave my house at 4 and I'll wake up at 3:30. I'm damn it.
Yeah, now you just gotta sit there.
It's interesting because BBC Science Focus wrote up a bit about sleep, and they said people tend to overestimate the amount of time that has passed during their first few hours of sleep. Mm-hmm. So they're they slept for 5 minutes, and they're oh, I've been asleep for an hour.
Yeah.
And then they underestimate during the later hours. So they're oh, I've been asleep for 3 hours, and it's no, you've been asleep for 8 hours.
That feels right.
It does,
that feels
right? It does, but I wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah.
Really. I have definitely experienced that.
Yeah.
I'm oh, I feel like I haven't been asleep at all. And then I look over at the clock and it's it's light out.
Yeah.
But sometimes you feel like you've been asleep forever. And it's you were asleep for 90 minutes.
Right.
So strange. So there's not a significant, 5 minutes to an hour. It's always the same. It changes throughout the night. So even though we're pretty good at telling how long we sleep, comparing that to real time, we have to go back to lucid dreaming. So when you're asleep and you're not Mike Birbiglia, you definitely don't move. Really. Right? You don't act out what's happening when you're dreaming.
Unless you're trying to get rid of a hydrogen.
If you haven't seen Mike Birbiglia's special, you don't want to do that unless you have to get rid of a hydrogen. And then I totally get it.
But that's, to be fair, I did wake up to remove the hydrogen.
True.
Yeah.
So neurochemicals keep us from acting out our dreams.
Yeah.
Again, unless you're Mike Birbiglia, who has a great, very funny and also tragic comedy bit about this. He has to like sleep in a sleeping bag and wear mittens and everything so he doesn't get out of the sleeping bag because he jumped out of a window of his hotel room once, if you're unaware. Again, it's very funny. And also, like, if you really think about it objectively, you're like, oh, wow, this is so sad. But that's comedy, baby. So the thing is, even though your muscles, like your big muscle groups are paralyzed, not everything about you is paralyzed. You can still hear. That's important.
Yep.
You can still taste, obviously, because Marquis had that thing, although you may not be tasting consciously.
Yeah.
Also, your eyes move.
Yes.
Turns out the eyes move the same if a lucid dreamer moves them consciously in their dream. They move that way in real life. And so, because of that, we can do all sorts of really cool things with lucid dreamers by asking them to do a specific eye movement and then do a task. So, paper in Frontiers in Psychology in 2014 asked lucid dreamers to do a specific eye movement before and after doing this task. And it's basically like a left, right eye movement. You do it a few times because it shows up. They like track their eye movement. And random eye movement is more like vibration, even though we all picture like a movie where you're like zooming in on somebody who's like really moving their eyes around. That's like more for film. In real life, if you look at the graphs, they're like very small movements. They're just happening constantly. So it's more like little vibrations. So when the lucid dreamers move their eyes left and then right and then left and then right, it shows up on the graph hugely. Like you can absolutely see where it is. So they asked them to count to 100. Very simple. So these lucid dreamers would go to sleep in the sleep lab. They have an EEG on. They have like obviously things tracking their eyes. They like have as many sensors as they can. Body temperature, heart rates, brain waves, anything that they can do. Sleep studies are fascinating. Okay, so what would happen is, it's different depending on the lab, but they would play a sound for the person because your ears work.
Yeah.
To like remind them, hey, are you dreaming? And they would be like, oh yeah, I'm dreaming. Boop, 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 boop. And they would move their eyes. So then they would play the request that they would have. So count to 100. And then they would count to 100 in their dream. And they would go boop, 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 boop when they were done. Do you think it took more time or less time in real life to actually count to 100 than it would in a dream? So to put it more simply, do you think the dream took longer than real life or less time?
I think the dream took less time.
Yeah. Tell me more.
I feel like there's just something that for some reason I'm like, I bet in the dream you would just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like something about your brain can just go through it faster.
Because it's kind of like a boring task. So you're just like, I feel like I'm counting at a normal rate, but really I'm counting really fast because I'm just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
Really fascinating. I like that hypothesis. It takes about the same time.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little longer, just a little bit. Yeah. But it takes about the same time to do simple math in your dreams as it does to do it out of your dreams, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
They also can use this for two-way communication. So in another lab, more recently, they taught the grad student, had never lucid dreamed before or even heard of it. They taught the grad student to lucid dream. They did the playing a sound where they entered the REM sleep. And the participant was told to move their eyes left, right, left, right. They played the sound and then they moved their eyes to say that they were lucid dreaming and they knew they were dreaming. And the researcher played an audio file that said 8 minus 6. And the dreamer was taught beforehand to like answer the question by moving your eyes the number that would be the answer, and they move their eyes twice. So the dreamer essentially got a question in the dream, 8 minus 6, which is 2, and answered the question back to the person outside of the dream.
Wow.
So they were communicating back and forth, which is wild.
Yeah.
And it happened in more or less real time.
Yep.
So it was very, very interesting. This study was published in 2021 in Current Biology, and it was replicated across a bunch of different sleep labs in Europe. They asked 158 simple questions and got correct responses about 20% of the time, a little less, 19% of the time. And then about 79% of the time, unclear or no response. So they just didn't respond at all. And then in 3%, they got an incorrect answer.
Yeah. I was wondering if the people who didn't respond were just like, I don't want to do math.
Right, yeah. So that, I thought it was neat that they published it that way. And I rounded up, which is why it's more than 100, because it was like, 18.6. You know, like we didn't need 3 significant figures.
Yeah.
That's a podcast, guys. Okay. So like 20% of the time they got it right, 80% of the time they didn't respond at all, and then like 3% of the time they got it wrong. So I would say like around 22% of the time they responded to your question.
Right, yeah.
Which is cool.
Do you know, like, did they ask the people after who didn't respond if they like got the question or like...
Oh, like good question. I don't know. I didn't see that in the study, or I might have missed it. But I imagine that they did. So part of these studies is usually waking people up a lot. It's less sleeping and more waking them up, because they have to like talk to them about their dream, and they need to do it immediately after the dream happens, because you might have other dreams, go through other sleep cycles. And so what ends up happening is they'll do these lucid dreaming tests, and then they have to wake them up and be like, were you dreaming? Were you lucid dreaming? Do you remember this? How did you get the question? Which is super cool. There was another study in Science in 2021 where they quote said, one dreamer reported the math problems coming out of their car radio. Another was at a party when he heard the researcher interrupting his dream like a narrator in a movie.
Huh.
Right? So
that's so cool.
This is like movie in real life stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So neat. But not everything is in real time. So we have real time for simple tasks, math, counting, stuff like that. Swiss researcher Dan Erlacher, who's quite well known, I guess, in dream study, asked lucid dreamers to exercise. That sucks. Come on, Dan. Uncool. Even though your muscles don't move, your brain kind of compensates for that, which is neat. See, this is where if this was reversed and you're like, do you think it takes longer or less? I'd be like, oh my God, so much less, because screw this. I don't want to exercise. Just give me a jump cut montage like, da-na-na-na-na-na, like I've done it.
Rocky theme music.
Yeah, I do one burpee. I do one push-up. I'm struggling because I never would do any of those things. So... he asked them to walk 10 paces, count to 30, perform an elaborate gymnastics routine. Oh, no. Dan! These are not equal, bud. And then asked them to roll their eyes left and right to communicate that they had done it.
Okay.
So, same question. Do you think in the dream versus reality, it took more time or less time to do these tasks?
Do they also have to do an elaborate gymnastics routine?
Apparently, yes. I don't know if they were gymnasts or they were just like, if you even in a dream, if you were like, Trace, here's an uneven bar, go to work. I'd be like, chalk. Yeah. And then I'd walk away. That's all I know how to do. I just watch the Olympics on TV. I don't know how to uneven bar. But even in my dream, maybe I have low expectations of myself in my dream.
I just feel like it has to be so much faster in the dream, like even more than before. Like before I was like, yeah, I just feel like I would skip through. But it's like in real life, you're just so impeded by things.
Gravity and muscles and anxieties.
Yeah. And I'm worried you're about to tell me it's the same amount of time and I'm going to just keep insisting like, no. It seems so much worse.
It's 50% longer. It takes longer time in the dream to complete a physical task than it does in real life.
No way.
Yeah. They don't know precisely why. They think that it might be either mimicking how hard it is. They're like, oh, you really have to try hard to do these things in real life. Elaborate gymnastics routine. Yeah. And so the brain like draws out.
So that's like the exact opposite of what I thought. Like I thought your brain's going to be like cutting out the effort. It's actually like adding to the effort. Really
focusing on it. So, and they also think maybe it's because the brain is running like a slower cycles, you know? So because it's running slower, quote unquote, it's taking longer to process everything. So that might be why it's in slow motion for real life. But when they wake up the dreamer's like, yeah, I was going at a normal, like it felt to me like it was taking the same amount of time as it would if I were awake. But in real life, time dilation is taking 50% longer.
Oh my God.
Which is so wild.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the reverse of Oran's question, which is a short dream might fill an hour as a reminder because you think that you're running or something effortful is happening. Yeah. Whereas what Haurane is saying is, a long dream in a short time.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. There's actually some really funny studies about this. Remember in the 90s, 2000s, people were like, listen to languages while you're sleeping. You'll learn languages. In 2019, they asked people to think about a puzzle while they were asleep, and they had improved outcomes on the puzzle while they were awake. They had to think about it. They didn't listen to it.
Yeah.
So this is sort of a kind of take on that. they are also training athletes to be lucid dreamers so that they can train their sport while they're sleeping.
No, let them sleep.
And I'm
let
just
them
like,
rest.
let them sleep. Simone's already good.
No.
Let them sleep.
Yeah. It is funny, though, you say that. I mean, in no way is this on the level of a professional athlete, but I remember when I used to do more animation kind of stuff with After Effects or like work more in Illustrator and stuff. Yeah. I would have so many dreams that where I would be trying to solve the problem of what I was trying to make in my dream, and it like would actually sometimes help. Like that's like the closest I come to being able to like relate to lucid dreaming, like where keyframes.
See, Dan, next time just ask for somebody to do a complex After Effects animation.
Exactly. You don't even, for me, it wouldn't have even needed to be complex. It's like trying to get my brain to like make transparency go to 0, and then it'll take a while.
I just need this hydrogen to move over there.
Exactly. But I like distinctly remember like my brain and like my body would feel like it was moving. Like it just felt like I was moving
you were doing it.
Things in my like in After Effects, and there's something about dreaming that like actually weirdly helped me put that together. So maybe it's more like the puzzle. It's not at all like a professional athlete.
Could be both. Yeah. They call this mental practice, and it does seem to help with training outcomes, especially for people who either can't train while they're awake. Like if you're injured, they would train them how to like think about their training while they were going to sleep, and maybe they would dream about it, and it could improve their outcomes. It's not necessarily about muscles, but like the way your brain does the athletics,
right?
Which is super neat. So,
and people kind of talk about that with babies too. Like when babies have sleep regressions, people will say it might be that they're like learning a new skill, and like sometimes you like wake up and your baby will wake up screaming because they like are standing and they were sleeping, and suddenly they're standing, and it's like, oh, was your brain like putting that together while you were sleeping? Like, oh,
that's cool.
Cool. I wish you would sleep, but cool.
Yeah, go to sleep though. So neural processing taking longer doesn't really help Haurane with their question. So I did find a 1975 study that found that some dreams do exceed the absolute time span of the dream by, and this is funny, quote, 2 to 10, 25 to 50, or even 100 times.
What a range.
I was like, wow. So either 2 to 10, either 25 to 50, or 100. That's like a very specific. Yeah, I don't know. But it does happen both ways. Sometimes the things that we have studied so far that I could find are mostly about how things take longer or about the same amount of time. But it would be hard to like measure time in a dream directly. You know, it's not like you can dream about a clock. Actually, clock dreams are extremely rare. I found a study that said it was like only a few percent or less than a percent of dreams do you dream about clocks specifically, which I thought was kind of cool. But it's based mostly on one person's dream journal that they took for a long, long time. So it does happen. It's just pretty rare. So it's possible. Exceptions were like nightmare dreams, where there was the acceleration of time flow and with events proceeding logically, but accompanied by strong emotional reactions. Things tended to draw out. So you could have a really long dream that was a really short period if it's an emotional dream, a nightmare, or was complex. And again, they think this might have to do with processing. Okay. So you could dream about your elaborate gymnastics routine that you're really stressed about. Yeah. You're trying to gymnastics your way across through some uneven bars to get away from a monster, and maybe then your dream would be really long even though you didn't sleep for very long. They don't know. More research is needed, they said, everywhere, which was interesting. Sleeping is cool. I subjected myself to at least 20 minutes, and that was about all I could take, of an Andrew Huberman podcast. Because it had Matthew Walker, who's a very famous sleep scientist. And he reminded me of this thing that I'd seen him speak before, and he said, sleeping is fascinating because we don't know why we do it, but we know that everybody does it. Yeah. And it's like planned for the brain's benefit by the brain, loss of consciousness. Yeah. And that's weird. It's
so weird.
We just accept it, but it's super weird. Yeah. Do you want to know how to lucid dream? I'll wrap this up and tell people if they want to try it. Yeah. I found a bunch of different tip sheets. I mainly cite one from Masterclass, weirdly. So first, good sleep hygiene. So, cool room, dark, dim lights, no screens, avoid alcohol and caffeine before bed, stick to a sleep schedule. You can find a billion things about how to have good sleep hygiene. A lot of these are like, if you don't have kids. I mean, you can just sleep whenever you want, however you want. Yeah. 2, dream journal. Because lucid dreams don't magically become memorable dreams. You need to still learn to think about your thoughts.
That makes sense.
And when you wake up, write them down. So if you don't do that, then even if you lucid dream, like you said earlier, you might have lucid dreamt, but you might not remember it.
Right.
3, reality testing. This is when it gets cool. You have to have a reality testing system. So how do you know if you are dreaming right now? How would you know?
I don't know.
What would you do to be like, am I dreaming?
Well, I mean, like, that's like where you like have like the pinch me moment, right?
Yeah, you could pinch yourself.
Yeah.
I guess. That's the thing that you learn in cartoons. Like, pinch me, am I asleep?
Yeah.
And like, because pain doesn't work in dreams. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't look that up. But so what they said is you need to get in the habit of looking in a mirror, because mirrors don't behave very well because our brains don't inherently know how mirrors work, I guess. Checking clocks, which again, we don't dream about very often. But sometimes you're in a school where you're dreaming about a classroom, there's always a clock in that classroom.
Right.
But you need to remember to do this when you're awake. So you have to constantly be like vainly checking yourself out in a mirror really quick, just checking the time really rudely. But you do that throughout the day and it becomes a habit. And then when you're asleep, you will notice that you're dreaming because you'll look at a clock and it won't make sense, or time won't be flowing the right way, or won't have moved, or you'll look in a mirror and it'll be weird. And really it's just like reminding yourself that dreams are a thing that happens. And then you would realize, oh, I'm dreaming.
Right.
And you train yourself over time to do that, which is pretty cool.
That's so interesting. I had a reverse version of that when I was in the early like newborn days with my baby, where I was so sleep deprived that I was like hallucinating there was a baby in bed with me, and I was like getting freaked out that he would like suffocate and all this stuff. Like they teach you all this safe sleep stuff. So I would like get so panicked. And one of the things that we did to like make it so that I knew, like there were a few things that we did to like make it clear to me that like this was not the case. Like I slept in a different room if it was like my turn to sleep. But also the big thing we did was we put a clock in the room that I could look at, so that I could just look at it, see that it was like my time to be asleep, and that I was in this particular room, and it was just like my way of knowing like that was like that I'm like this is all safe and good. Like,
you're not asleep.
It was my way of knowing like I'm in reality. Like it was like the reverse of that almost, of like grounding and like
that's
being like,
cool.
Okay, like this is where I am. I'm okay.
That's really neat. Your dream anxiety changed your waking behavior.
Yeah.
That is like the reverse of this. That is cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I tried to do this one, the reality testing, and then my ADHD was like, no, but you're never going to get a habit out of this.
Yep.
But I would love to try and lucid dream. It's supposed to be neat. Yeah. There are 2 other things that like tips, and they're both kind of mnemonics. There's mild and WBTB. So mild is, it's a mnemonic that uses the word mnemonic, which is awesome. I've never even seen that before. It's the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, mild. So you think about a dream you had while you're trying to fall asleep. You try and visualize that dream. You try to think to yourself, I will remember that dream and I will be in that dream tonight or whatever. Oh. And then you repeat to yourself, I will remember that I am dreaming. And apparently Marquis used to do this. Like I said, he had the root that he would put in his mouth. This is that similar idea, except for we don't all have servants to put the root so we can dream about the painting lady. Yeah. Marquis was like, wow, Freakik, you know what I'm saying? Nicki Minaj would be proud. Oh, and the other mnemonic is wake back to bed, which we mentioned earlier. It's WBTB. So set your alarm before you're supposed to wake up. So like 5 or 6 hours after bedtime, get up, do something that keeps your brain active. So reading, writing, or meditation. So this is also why dream journaling might be cool. You wake up, you write down anything that you were thinking about, stay awake for like 20 minutes and then go right back to sleep. And you might go right into REM and be lucid dreaming immediately. Yeah. That's another thing.
See, that's the reason why I'll never dream. I can't. If I'm asleep, I gotta stay asleep. Yeah. I mean, like if I wake up, if I make myself wake up, that feels like an affront to everything that I've achieved for the last few hours.
Yeah, the wake back to bed seems tough. Tough for me. Also, once I'm awake, the thing is, I don't know if it's like doing this job and having to travel and like be on camera at like 8 a.m. and you just are.
Right.
But when I wake up, I'm like awake.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, I'm going to wait. I don't hit the snooze button 52 times or whatever, which don't do that.
Yeah.
Set your alarm for when you need to wake up. You were like destroying that last hour of sleep. It could have been a whole cycle, bros. Yeah. And broettes. What is it? Bros? Everybody's bros. Whatever? I don't know. Yeah. You're ruining a whole cycle of your sleep. Don't do that. Just set it for when you need to get out of bed and then get out of bed. I know that sounds crazy. But don't. The snooze button is not your friend. It is true. It is harming you actively. Also, you will just start to wake up without your alarm if you don't wake up for an hour and you just like, I wake up every day at X time.
Yeah.
And like, even on the weekend where you can sleep in, you can go back to sleep. But it's like, anyway, there's my rant over. Haurane, we don't have a lot of answers for you. Dreams are mysterious. We all sleep, which is weird. We all dream, which is weird.
Honestly, though, you gave way more answers than I expected.
Sleep scientists are fascinating. I have a sleep scientist who's a friend who she has been on the pod, Vanessa Hill, Dr. Vanessa Hill, recently doctor. Proud of her.
Congrats.
She studies sleep procrastination, which is really cool. There's a lot of people who study dreams. There's people who study how we sleep, the different things that happen in our brains when we sleep. I've always been into neuroscience. It's like if I ever went to get a PhD, I would do the neuroscience, not the slicing brains one, but like the understanding the brains one.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I love
the people who are slicing aren't trying to understand.
No, they're just
in it for the slicing.
They're just, We don't know why we dream. We don't know why we sleep. We have theories and hypotheses about what the benefits are, but in terms of just like raw, here's why we do this, they're both still really open questions, which is amazing. So if you want to study sleep and dreams, get out there, study them. Dreams are cool, and I find them interesting, and I'm sorry I talked for so long.
I learned so much. Yeah.
Let's take a quick break and come back and let Deboki talk for a while. Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out.
Whew. Okay, I hope you took a nap, like a really quick one, and then maybe you like had a little dream and it felt like it was an hour. Unless you're driving, please, I hope you didn't take a nap and just continue driving the car.
But if you did fall asleep, write your dream down.
Yeah, definitely write your dream down. Even if you're
driving.
Down. Yeah, and if you are awake now, but you were asleep, wake back to bed. Like just pause it and go back to bed.
Yeah.
You can dream about something cool. Somebody wrote us an email and was like, I listened to you while I'm falling asleep. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I've worked on a lot of sleep content for people, like accidental sleep content.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't meant to be that, but that's what it's become.
Should we just do a thing in every episode where we go like, boo? And that means like, you're lucid dreaming.
Yeah. Count to 100.
That's great. So, Deboki, let's stop talking about my question from the first one and tell me what your question was.
And this comes from Kathy, who actually sent us an audio version of the question.
Hi guys, my name is Kathy. I'm from Vienna, Austria, and I've been wondering why we only breastfeed our babies, but not other close relatives and friends to boost each other's immune systems. I've recently had a baby, and as a breastfeeding mom, I've been told many times that my breast milk contains antibodies that help my baby fend off pathogens, which is pretty neat because stuff my immune system is dealing with is surely stuff my baby will also encounter earlier or later. We've even seen this in action because I've twice had a cold that my partner also caught, but my baby didn't. So I was wondering, why don't I also breastfeed my partner? Why isn't it customary to offer shot glasses of breast milk to friends when they come over? And while we're at it, for the same reason, why didn't my husband evolve to breastfeed me? Surely this sounds absurd, but could you please elaborate?
Well, so I didn't look into why your partner can't breastfeed you.
Why you can't get breastfed.
Yeah, but that's a great point.
Why?
I too would like to demand this of the universe.
It's like the USB-C of humans. It's just like, here, let me give you some immune system. Let me give it to you.
Yeah. Wow. Just keep passing it around.
That's cool.
But I do want to start with this story. We're going to go back to 1752. And the Reverend Ebenezer Parker has not been doing so great. His body hurts. He doesn't want to eat. And at night, the pain gets even worse. His family, his friends, they're like sticking around at night to like kind of just help him go through this. And Reverend Ebenezer Parker has a wife named Hannah, and they have a 1-year-old son together. Their son is weaning. Apparently at the time they sent their babies off if they were weaning, or at least in this version of the story, that's what I've read. But at night she's staying with her husband and she's tending to him with a mixture of meat and herbs and other things that the doctor recommends. But she also gives him her breast milk.
What?
Yeah.
How did she think about that? She's just like,
oh, we're gonna get into it. Yeah.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah. So, and eventually the good Reverend gets better. And did the breast milk help? Who knows? I don't know their life. I don't know what was going on there. But I just wanted to set all of that up because I wanted Kathy to know the answer to this question of like, why don't we give breast milk to our friends? Is like, people do. This is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Kathy, I've also recently had a child, and I'm excited because last time, like, I was on this podcast, I got to talk about like pregnancy and like how animals, whether or not they know if they're pregnant. So like, I feel like this is my new beat. Like, I hope that anytime you get like a pregnancy baby related question, like just call me up because this has become my like I love learning about this stuff. And it's like
really, really, really fascinating. Since having a kid, I agree. I'm just like, oh my God, your whole body, everything. Anyway,
so weird.
So
like,
cool.
It's so cool that like we can make more people. Like, I don't know why it didn't register to me that like that's what you're doing.
You just make one, and they're they're a full person, weird brains, habits, everything.
Yeah. And they like go from 0 to like figuring out how to like move around and stuff. It's all so wild.
It is.
And also my son, like Hannah from the story, he's about to turn 1. We are entering that phase where he's starting to eat more food. So like I am entering a place where there's milk in the freezer that like we might not end up giving him. And I'm like, is there a market for this? I am curious to find out.
Yeah. What, are you going to get into it?
Oh, we're going to get into it. But I'm going to take a little while to get there.
Sure, let's do it. I'm ready.
But first, before I even do that, I do want to issue a huge caveat because breast milk is also a sensitive topic for a lot of people who are like having kids. I like I've already said, I nursed my son, and I think breastfeeding is like super cool for a lot of science stuff that we're going to get into. But also like breastfeeding is like a thing that we do because of evolutionary needs that have like go back a long, long time, like before we had modern medicine, before we had the ability to understand milk the way that we do. So there are a lot of benefits to breast milk, but like it is not the only way or even the best way to provide for every child. Like formula is amazing too. I was a formula baby. I think I turned out pretty great. So like, please, like to anyone who's listening to this, if you're in that place that a lot of people deal with when it comes to breastfeeding, where it's just causing more stress, like do not take this as breastfeeding is the only way to provide for a kid, because I know it's super sensitive, but
thank you for saying that.
You're all doing your best.
Everybody's out there doing the best.
Yeah.
Bodies are weird and cool and amazing, and they're all different. That's part of the best part about being us.
Yeah. Exactly. So getting into breast milk, like what it is and why, kind of, catching people up. Like if you don't know that much about breast milk, maybe you've heard that it's like this really amazing thing, but you don't like know that much about it. So all mammals make milk, and it helps us solve some of the biggest problems babies can face, because babies, they're so cute, but like they can't really do that much, especially like, like a human baby. They're born, they're thirsty, they're hungry, they don't know how to fight, so they can't deal with predators. Their bodies don't know how to fight diseases. So like there's a lot of problems that can come up. And so if you are human and you're pregnant, before you actually deliver the baby, you'll actually start making this fluid called colostrum. It's like this weird, oily, yellow fluid. You can actually start expressing it towards the end of pregnancy, so you don't even have to have given birth yet, though you should double check with your doctor to make sure that it's okay. I don't want you accidentally going into labor early. But yeah, that's like a way that sometimes people will collect colostrum ahead of time, because it's just really nice to have on hand, because it is full of really great stuff. A lot of like immunological molecules like antibodies. There's a protein called lactoferrin that helps fight infection. So there's a lot of stuff in colostrum. And then a few days after giving birth, the milk starts to come in. And that's when you get first transitional milk, which is sort of like colostrum. And then you get to actual milk. And so breast milk is 90% water approximately, and that helps with the thirst, right? Like right out of the gate, you're dealing with one of the big issues. But on top of that, it's water that's passed through a living water filter. Like you as the person who's breastfeeding, you're filtering out a lot of infections. So that's a lot better than like sending your baby to the watering hole that might have, you know, like some bacteria in there.
That's cool. I never thought about it that way, but that is a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really neat, right?
Neat.
And then on top of that, part of the function of breast milk is also to prevent infection.
Wait, if your name is Britta, are you a walking copyright violation? Because you're a Brita filter. But you are a Brita filter.
Only if you're breastfeeding.
Only during breastfeeding are you you have to file paperwork.
Yep. Or is Brita violating your copyright and
Probably
you can
the
sue
latter.
them?
Come on. Brita should always be able to be Brita.
Yep.
Not the company.
Yep. So part of the function of breast milk is to fight infections, but also part of the function of breast milk is to help with like the bacteria that should be in your body. So there are friendlier microbes in there that get passed on from the mother to help kind of set the baby's guts up because, you know, they're kind of just there and they need something in there or something's going to end up there anyway. So I found one paper that referenced an estimate that babies get anywhere from 1,000 to 1,000,000 bacteria each day via breast milk. And this actually goes to some of Kathy's question, but maybe in a roundabout way. Some of the sugars that are found in breast milk, they're not really meant for the baby. They're actually meant for the bacteria. They're basically a prebiotic, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. So in a way, you are feeding your friends breast milk. It's just that your friends are the bacteria.
Oh, well, the real friends are the microflora we made along the way.
Exactly. They're your earliest friends. And those sugars that you're feeding them are complex, so they're actually kind of hard to figure out how to manufacture. So I found this research project where scientists at UC Berkeley and UC Davis are working on engineering plants to make those sugars to add to formula. So I just thought that was really cool. Like, I think it's really interesting how we're still like finding ways to make formula better as well. Mm-hmm. And there is so much more to breast milk. There are growth factors, there are antibodies, and I think there's a lot that's probably still mysterious to us as well. But the thing that I find most fascinating about breast milk and that I didn't appreciate until like right before I was about to have a baby is how variable and dynamic it is. There are ways in which I think it's super obvious. Like obviously a lot of it does depend on what you as the mother are eating. Mm-hmm. And in some ways that kind of sucks because you're like, you've given birth. You're finally like, I'm not pregnant anymore. My body is free. But actually you kind of still aren't really free.
Yeah.
You have to think about things like medications and whatever to make sure that it's okay to nurse your baby. And it also means that you're shaping the nutritional content of the food that the baby is receiving. So that's both cool, but weird. So like there's always that kind of thing.
Right.
But also milk changes over the course of the day. Like milk at night is supposed to be slightly different from milk in the morning. It's supposed to have hormones that are supposed to help baby sleep, which feels fake. Don't believe it.
It does feel fake.
But imagine how much worse they would be sleeping.
Yeah, true. Give them a bunch of morning milk and they're like, woo, wired! Yeah,
party.
Let's go!
Yeah. Yeah, I remember before I had a baby, I was like, I learned that and I was like, okay, I'm going to be really diligent and I'm going to keep the morning milks that I pump separate from the evening milks. Like they're going to be like so nicely separated. And then I had a baby. I was like, no, these are all going into the same pitcher. I'm just doling them out later.
It'll be good. It's no big deal.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's all fake. Supposedly it's real. Yeah, I remember reading a study that it does help, but I just was like, whatever. I would like to sleep and not think.
Yeah. I don't think we kept track of morning and evening ones, but maybe I'm wrong. It's hard to remember now that it's been 3 years.
Yeah. It's probably for the best. to not remember.
I'm just like, oh God, I can't remember. And your brain's like, you're welcome.
Yep, there's a reason you forget.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of this that's also weird is that when a baby is nursing, they'll actually transfer saliva into the nipple.
What?
Yeah, it's called upsuck. And this can signal things that the baby needs. Yeah, it's the weirdest name.
What?
Yeah.
Salivary Upsuck is a great band name.
It is. And also, it's so weird.
It is so weird.
Like, I just like, you just imagine it and you're just like, ugh, like it's a little bit gross, but also I'm glad. And so like it can tell like the body like, oh, maybe the baby's dealing with an infection and like we'll kind of give them the antibodies to kind of deal with it. Also, as the baby gets older, the composition of the milk will change too. So like speaking anecdotally, I know from like some of my fellow mom groups, for babies who are feeding on formula, as they get older, obviously you need to eat more. You're getting bigger and stuff. And so with formula babies, they were usually increasing the amount of milk that they got, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And with breast milk, you do increase, but I think it's not as big of an increase in how much milk they're getting, because as they're getting bigger, the composition of the milk changes as well. So it might be getting fattier, it might just be getting more calorie dense or whatever. So that's just like anecdotally something that I remember, that you don't increase volume quite as much as with formula. Yeah. So I think that's all super fascinating. It's part of why a lot of medical organizations recommend breastfeeding. It's why a lot of people will tell you like breast milk is so great. The current guidelines are to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months and then keep nursing until the baby is 1 to 2 years. But like I said, there's a lot of ways for babies to thrive, and breast milk is just one of the ways.
Right.
And for all of the ways that I'm going to talk about how cool breastfeeding is, I will say personally, I have found some downsides that I just want to list out, because I don't want to put breastfeeding on a pedestal. And it also gets to why I personally would not want to necessarily be providing for my friends as well as my baby. Personally, I found nursing during the newborn stage to be like mentally and physically super taxing.
Yes.
It was like a lot to be the only source of food. And like, also weirdly, it was also very hard for my husband, and like, not to be like, what about the men? But also like, it kind of sucked for him, because like I would be trying to finally get my sleep so that I could stop hallucinating. And he would have to be like, you know, in charge of this baby who's like really on the brink of like waking up, and he doesn't have a good way to help soothe him. So for him, that meant that he would have to like bounce on a yoga ball for 3 hours so that I could get my sleep. So yeah, it is a lot to be like have that kind of division so stark, especially with, like before you can start pumping and giving a bottle. So once we were able to do that, that changed things. Another thing, they tell you early on, like you're going to have to feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours. They don't tell you, what I didn't realize is that 2 to 3 hour, that clock, it starts at the beginning of when you feed them.
Right.
So it's not
I
like
remember
you finish
that
feeding.
And being like, spit.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Like I was like, great, I'll feed him. Then I'll have 2 to 3 hours before he's ready to feed again. It's like, no, I'm going to start feeding him. He's a newborn. He doesn't know what he's doing, which is fine. I don't hold it against him. He's just a baby. You're feeding for like 40 minutes to an hour. He's barely finishing up. And then like an hour, he's like, I'm hungry again. And you're like,
let me just say that again for people who don't have children. Because what you're thinking is, oh, what does it take? How long does it take to feed a baby? Like 5 minutes? Nope. Add a zero, my friend. It can take 45 minutes to an hour to feed a baby. And then an hour later, it's been 2 hours since they've been. And you're feeding them again. It's a lot.
It's so weird, because like you just like don't realize that before. No. You're like 2 to 3 hours. That's okay. I can handle that.
I can sleep. I can do laundry. No, you can't do any of that.
Nope. Also, cluster feeding. One of the things about breastfeeding being dynamic is that it's also about supply and demand. The baby demands. They sure demand. That's part of what determines the supply that your body is going to provide. So early on, babies will cluster feed, where they'll basically just keep feeding. Like you'll think they're done. You think you've got maybe your hour off, but no, they're like, nah, I want to feed again. And it's their way of telling your body to make more milk. And so a lot of people will end up like me, where you're just like planted on the couch from the hours of like 7 to 9 p.m. with a baby that's cluster feeding, and you're just like trying to appease this milk maniac, but that's just what you got to do. Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up because I think supply and demand is kind of like an interesting aspect of this question, because it does add to the mental load of breastfeeding, where like you have to keep feeding to kind of feel like you can provide. But it's also part of this weird balance that can happen. Like some people might not be able to produce enough milk, but there are also people who will end up with what's called an oversupply, where they're making too much milk. And if you're not familiar with the world of breastfeeding, that might sound great. You're like, cool, you're making more milk than you need. What's the problem? It can actually cause a lot of physical issues. Like it can cause clogs, it can cause infections. It's also just very uncomfortable. Like you don't realize how much milk can weigh until it's hanging around in your body.
Yeah.
And like, I say all of this to whine, but the reason it all feels worth it is because breastfeeding hits you so hard with oxytocin. Like, you are in the moment feeding this adorable baby. Maybe they're screaming, maybe they're chomping, maybe they're doing acrobatics as they get older, and it's like a little bit weird. But the oxytocin hits you hard, and you're like, this is the greatest thing. Especially like after you get out of the newborn phase, like it becomes easier. It doesn't take them an hour to eat, like all of that stuff. So it is a weird thing. Like, I feel a little emotionally held hostage by nursing. But I'm also glad. Like, I'm glad, and, you know, kind of like Kathy, like, I've had those times where we're dealing with sickness or like when baby's uncomfortable. Like, there are a lot of things that I like about it. But returning to that oversupply question, that's how we end up with this question of like, could we give the milk to other people? And of course, yes, there are markets for these milks. First off, obvious consumer of this excess milk are other babies. This goes back for a long time. Like, even the Code of Hammurabi has regulations around wet nursing, which is, you know, when you would have someone who would nurse other people's babies.
Wow. So even that long ago.
Yeah, very long time ago, which I think makes sense. It's
it does make sense, yeah.
Like, people, and like, I think it makes even more sense for it to have like existed pre-formula, right? It's like, if you're not making enough milk and, you know, there's somebody else, like, and you're in a community where there are other mothers. Yeah, and so the first milk bank opened up in Vienna in 1909, and milk banks are super important. They're really helpful for babies who are having difficulty getting the milk they need. They might be preterm. They might have moms who are like facing challenges with producing milk. So they're just really, really helpful. And a lot of what they do is connect people who maybe have that oversupply of milk, or maybe just have an excess, you know, I don't have an oversupply, but I do have excess milk. Like, it's a way to connect that excess of milk with people who could use it. Yeah. But they're not just like a matchmaking service. They're also making sure that the milk itself will be safe. So they screen the people who are donating the milk. So they ask you questions about like your drinking, your medication, like all sorts of stuff like that. There's all sorts of rules around who can donate. They also screen the milk to make sure there's no contamination. They store it to make sure like nothing new can get introduced. They also pasteurize it. So yeah, there is like this very clear way in which we are doing the thing that is, you know, sharing the milk. But I think that is maybe not the spirit of Kathy's question, because we're talking about other babies, and it's like, yeah, right, of course.
Yeah.
I remember when you brought this question to me, though, I was like telling you that we are probably a few months away from like Joe Rogan recommending breast milk to men.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. I didn't dig deeper into whether or not Joe Rogan has actually recommended breast milk. I'm sure it's come up at some point. But it turns out that I didn't need to, because men have already been doing this. Like, other men aside from him have been doing this. There are the fitness guys out there who have recommended breast milk. There is a market for bodybuilders to get.
Wow.
Yeah, breast milk. I found an article from 2018 where a woman said she'd made 4,500 pounds. She was in the UK on almost 500 liters of breast milk that she was selling to men.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about raw milk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the original trend. Raw milk.
The original raw milk.
Yeah, one of the dietitians that was interviewed for that article said that bodybuilders like breast milk because they think of it as like something that's quickly growing a baby. So they're like, oh, that's going to happen for me too. Like, there's all these calories, there's all these nutrients. That's how. And
here they are giving them like the more watery, like that nighttime milk. So they just go have a little nap.
That's sleepy milk.
You're like, I'll get you. We make fun of the manosphere on this as much as possible.
Perfect. This is the perfect question for that. For now. We're going to get into the sadder parts of it. Or maybe, depending on how you look at it. I also found a Reddit thread where people talked about selling their milk. One of the people in the thread, they couldn't donate their milk because of medication she was taking. So she sold 20 ounces for $100 to someone who drove 4 hours round trip to get it.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's a long time. That's a lot of money for 20 ounces.
Yeah. That's like one soda bottle.
Yeah.
In the US.
So there are websites out there that you can actually use to sell breast milk. And the one that I visited is more geared around the idea of like being kind of like a milk bank. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's actually who the customer base is, especially some of the classifieds. People had to actually specify no adult wet nursing. And like, for me, that's kind of like a signal of like, this might not be the place where I would want to be selling my breast milk.
But, you know, whatever. People doing their thing.
It's true. It's true. I mean, so there's people doing whatever. There's also reaching out to people who are selling you their breast milk and ask. So one of the comments that I saw on Reddit was like, someone asked me if they could get it directly from the tap. And that's when I deleted my profile.
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
like, yeah, I would
like,
too.
No, we're not selling that part of it. That's
not what we're here for.
You don't get to work an oil rig just because you go to the mobile station, guys. You want to work the oil rig, put in the time.
Exactly. That's how we should always all phrase.
That's really, it's the most dangerous job in the world.
One of the things that's important to note to all the bodybuilders out there who are considering breast milk, it has less protein than cow's milk. So like if that's the main nutrient you're worried about as a bodybuilder, you're probably better off with other foods. The other big thing is like medical organizations discourage this because, you know, not only is there not a clear benefit from the consumer side, it's pretty risky. Like you don't really know who's selling their milk and like what they're doing with it. Like milk banks do a lot of, like I said, a lot of their function is to make sure that the milk that is being given to these babies is safe. Like you don't want to give babies bad milk. And so they have to screen it. They have to like test it and pasteurize it. Like you really want to make sure that it's safe. If you're buying someone's breast milk online, like you don't know if it's safe. You don't know how they got it. You don't know how they stored it. You don't know any of that. So there was a study that tested breast milk that was bought online, and they found that 93% of the samples had detectable bacteria. That doesn't tell you like if it's going to be bad for you, but it does tell you that, you know, it's not necessarily like sanitized well, or it might not be stored properly. You also don't know if the provider of the milk has some kind of infection that could be passed on through the milk as well. So yeah, like it's just it's not going to be the best, safest option compared to like food.
Yeah. Well, and something it's it's weird, but it's like human fluids are inherently difficult to share without risk. Yeah. You know, like there's a blood bank for a reason, and they screen the blood that comes in and then they can give it back out again. So milk bank makes sense too, where it's like I'm checking this milk and I'm making sure that it's okay before we put it back out there, as opposed to like, I need blood right now. Do you have a syringe? Like that's not the best way to go about it.
No, it sure is not.
Don't do that.
Yep.
I don't care if you're the pit.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Nope.
Don't do it. Good show.
Don't. Yeah.
That was a little
too
bit
stressful for me.
When the hospital administrator came down and was like, "What?" If you haven't seen the show, spoiler. But I was like, "Yes, the hospital administrator is correct." But also, you know, again, without spoilers, it was a big deal. It was important. I don't know if you've seen The Pit, but
I have not. I think it would stress me out.
It's very stressful, but it's really good.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe everyone who says it's really good, and I also believe myself when I say I will never watch it. So fitness gurus are not the only people out here recommending breast milk. None other than Kourtney Kardashian Baker once posted online that she wasn't feeling well, so she drank some of her breast milk.
Her own.
Yes, some of her own. So she knows where it's coming from. She knows. And so that brings us back to the beginning, right? In our sick reverend, because there is a long history of people using breast milk as medicine. There's a doctor named Thomas Muffet in 1584 who recommended breast milk for older men and women who were sick. Apparently pregnant women might drink another woman's milk while delivering a baby because it was thought to help kind of speed up delivery. It was also supposed to help with pain. In the 18th century, adults with tuberculosis would be fed breast milk. There were times where doctors would recommend treating eye infections with milk, which might be connected to this other practice of using breast milk on a baby's eyes to help clear out discharge before their tear ducts work. So all of those examples are coming from one source that I found that was looking at England and America, but I wouldn't be surprised if other cultures going further back were like, hey, this thing is amazing. It's here from the time the baby's born. Like, I bet it can be used for medicine. Like it feels like natural that is probably a thing people have done. The evidence, though, for whether or not it can help in that way is just really not there. And I had a hard time parsing through whether or not it's like just that we haven't really tested that. Like, I think that's part of it. Like, I don't think we're out here like testing breast milk for cures. But kind of one of the things that I think I I kind of came to when I was thinking about Kathy's question is like breast milk is this really incredibly powerful source of protection when it comes to our babies, when it comes to their immune system and stuff. But it's also partially because they're babies.
Yeah.
Like it's because they are working with such little
immune
there.
System is still quite frameworky, not quite robust enough.
Exactly. So like a lot of what you're doing is helping to set their immune system up for success. And so I think a lot of those benefits aren't going to translate as well to an adult because, you know, we have our immune system.
Yeah. It's funny because as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, right. I have my little fort that I built, my little castle of my immune system that I have already. A baby doesn't have that. So you're just helping them set it up.
Yep.
Like once it's already set up, it's not going to, it's going to go full Monty Python. Like, where'd you get the coconut?
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to let you in. No way. They don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
Exactly. So in the same way that you can find articles about bodybuilders who are drinking milk to get swole, you can also find articles about people consuming breast milk to manage their cancer.
Oh.
Which is tough because I respect the fact that if you're facing like a terrible diagnosis, like it's scary. And so I can see where, especially something like breast milk, you're like, that seems easy enough. And at least one of the articles I found, the person doing that was also making sure to get other treatments and was continuing to be screened for other aspects to make sure that they were doing okay. But at the same time, there really is no proof that breast milk is going to cure your cancer. But the reason why in this one article that I read, someone turned to breast milk is because they had read a particular paper on breast milk versus cancer cells that does exist. It was published in the 90s and was published in PNAS. So, you know, like a real peer-reviewed journal.
I do love PNAS.
Yep. Or as we call it in our household, PNAS.
PNAS. And for those that aren't aware, it's the proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences.
Yes. So researchers were looking at how human milk affected bacteria binding to a lung cancer cell line. And so they were surprised to find that the milk was actually killing the cancer cells. They weren't expecting that. Yeah. Huh. And so they realized the activity was based around a molecule called alpha-lactalbumin. Lactalbumin? Lactalbumin.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. If you say it 3 times, one of them's got to be right? So the important thing is that alpha-lactalbumin can fold multiple different ways. And so like the original form does not kill cancer cells. It has to be in a different folded state, which scientists have been able to do by extracting the molecule and then binding it to a fatty acid. And then it forms this complex that they called human alpha-lactalbumin made lethal to tumor cells, which it's just a thing that
does it have an acronym?
It sure does. It's Hamlet.
Oh God! Stop it!
No, that is the one.
Oh, nerds.
Yep. So,
that's great.
You know, this is a compound that people are testing, and it's still a ways away from being, I think, like a real viable medicine. I think why this like example stood out to me, it's like breast milk has a lot of compounds in it that we're like still understanding. Like the things that make breast milk wonderful, we've been able to figure out a lot of them. We're figuring out these nutrients. We're figuring out, you know, these sugars that the bacteria need. We're figuring out the immune molecules like that lactoferrin and all of this stuff. And scientists are working on kind of understanding some of those key like molecules, what they can do. So I think what we'll find is that there are compounds in breast milk that can be helpful if we learn how to use them. Like there are medicinal applications there, but there's really no evidence that drinking breast milk is going to be the best way to get you the benefits of those compounds as an adult. Like there is probably a better way, and that's what we really need to work towards. Like Hamlet might be.
No Hamlets for me.
Yeah.
No shots of breast milk next time I come over.
Yeah, no, sorry. The milk's going to be gone. I'll have sold it online for hopefully some money.
For £4,000.
Like daycare. So really what we need is more studies of breast milk to figure out what those compounds are, how we can use them. And yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of stuff there. There's, I think, a lot of chances for things. Like, you know, people talk about using breast milk to help with like skin stuff, like eczema. Like I've been told that all the time because my son has eczema. Like, oh, if you rub some breast milk on there.
Yep, we heard that
sometimes maybe it does stuff. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Could just be literally rubbing water, the 70% water, just like putting water on your kid's face.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
Just a thought.
It could be. Because honestly, we stopped doing it and also just kept washing his face with water, and it's been about the same.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we're not all out here. But some people are. Some people, I mean, one of the sources I came across was like, hey, is it okay to do this? And the answer is like, yeah. Like, if you want to feed your friends, like, it's fine. Just make sure that you know that you don't have infections.
Right.
And
like if you have, I don't know, something like a virus that you have in your body can be expressed through breast milk. Not all of them. Depends on the virus, which is why I'm not citing a specific one. Yeah. But you could pass it on to somebody who drinks your breast milk.
Right.
Which is also why people should be wary of it. But like, if you have your friends over and you know, I don't know, open up the taps and you're like, here you go, welcome.
Yep.
And you have some virus, maybe they could get it.
Yeah.
That could be, you know, maybe that's the goal. I don't know.
Maybe you just hate your friends.
Maybe you're like, take this, friends.
Yeah. But honestly, like, if your friends are sick, like, you're better off just like bringing them some medicine and chicken soup.
Some soup. Yeah. A little broth. Some yummy broth.
Yeah.
Not body broth, though. I mean, not your body. Chicken body.
Now I'm going to think of breast milk as body broth.
Body broth. Yeah. Yeah. What's your freezer full of? Broth.
Sure is.
Human broth. It makes it sound way worse. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think of it as a bad thing. And normally,
I don't know why milk sounds better than broth. Because milk, like, honestly, milk is part of like what makes breast milk sound gross to me. I don't know why.
Yeah,
because I don't
agree.
like think milk is gross.
I do.
But it's like, it just also suggests like the action. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it's a verb as well, which is interesting. I'm going to ask. You don't have to answer. Have you tried it? Has your husband tried it?
Yeah, we both have. Which is funny because he's vegan.
Huh.
So I was like,
well, you can consent. So if he's the kind of vegan where it's about consent, then it's fine, right?
Yeah, that is actually part of his argument. But also, like, I think he just tried a little bit and I just tried a little bit. But honestly, I think I've been in the mindset of like any milk that I get is like so saved and preserved for daycare that I like don't want to
don't waste it by trying it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely tried it.
Yeah.
It was sweeter than I expected.
That's what everyone says. Yeah.
Because you don't know what to expect. But also, I feel like the people who say that don't drink a lot of actual cow's milk. Because if you don't drink cow's milk and then you drink some, you're like, this tastes very sweet.
Yeah.
Like, cow's milk is quite sweet.
Yep.
Lactose is a sugar.
Yep.
So, point it out. Yep. Interesting, though.
It is such a weird thing. Like you said, I just did not appreciate how cool it was until I like learned like in advance of like having a baby, where it was like, this is wild. Like the fact that it changes so much. Yes. It's just crazy to me.
It changes over the day. It changes over the time of the baby's life. Yeah. It changes. It's like really was super neat. When Flavia, she wasn't producing yet, but he had some jaundice. So we gave him formula like at the hospital still. And then it was during the formula shortage. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we had to make sure that it was like extra stressful because we couldn't just like, oh, well, we're not producing enough. We'll just go get formula. There wasn't any. So it was like extra stressful. Yeah. Really fascinating stuff. Because if you really think about it, to your point from earlier, if you are the sole provider of nutrients for this living thing and your body may or may not be making enough, it might make too much. That's fine. Great. Cool. Whatever. If it's not making enough, the amount of stress that can cause people, I mean, it's unfathomable. Before that moment, like it's hard to empathize. You can sympathize and be like, yeah, that sounds really stressful. But empathizing with it is nearly impossible if you haven't, lived through it, because it's just like it's so wild to think about.
Yeah, and especially when you're like so freshly postpartum, so you're sleep deprived, the hormones are crazy. One of the things I didn't realize is like how different my husband's and my experience of that newborn phase would be because of that, where it's like physiologically too, you're just like, as the person who has been pregnant, delivered the baby, and now feeding the baby, you're like just so wired for everything to be like, if I heard like a peep from him, I would like get so stressed out in a way that was, obviously my husband was stressed and nervous and like caring too. So we're both responsive, but it's just like the way it manifests is so different. Yeah. Because the other thing is you don't know how much they're getting.
You don't know. You don't know.
You're just shoving a boob in their face and you're like...
And they're going for it.
Milk is going through. And it's like, you don't know until they poop.
Really? Yeah. or until they're like hungry a minute afterward, and you're like, did this go well? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, it's wild. And you know what? But also amazing, because the human body just does this.
Yeah.
And so do a lot of other animals. That was something that I noticed, is just how the whole process is very much like, oh, we are animals. Got it. Check.
Yeah, truly.
Anyone
truly
who's like, we are above primitive. That, I'm like, no, we are not.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? It's crazy.
Have you seen it, what it takes to make a person?
Yeah, it's a lot, you guys. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But so worth it. They're so cute.
They are the best.
Babies.
It's the best thing I ever did. So, Deboki, thank you for answering the question that you had. And can you please tell people where they can find you if they want to hear more of the cool stuff that you do?
Yeah, so I co-host the podcast Tiny Matters. It is made by the American Chemical Society and produced by Multitude. We talk about all sorts of science stuff. Me and my co-host Sam, we take on different science things. We have our episodes where we go into like different stories. So we recently had an episode about how astrobiologists picture life on other planets.
Cool.
Yeah, so lots of fun stuff. So if you want to hear more about that kind of thing, look for Tiny Matters.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. This show was created and written and produced by me, Trace Dominguez, and Julian, even though he wasn't here, he didn't do any writing today, but he helps produce and create it.
He didn't do anything.
He did nothing. That was the point, though. He needed a break. And then, of course, Deboki, who helped us out today as well by writing her section.
Yeah.
I love it when you come on. And you know what? You can come on for things that aren't just human fluid or pregnancy related if you want. But
I could, but if you guys have more questions about pregnancy, this has truly become my jam.
I love it. Audience, just take note. Today's show was produced and edited by the wonderful, and you know what? I'm just going to say it, probably could make breast milk if he wanted, Kyle Sisk. If he wanted. He's just that good.
Yeah.
Thank you to the listeners who submitted the questions featured in this episode, Kati and Haurane. If you have a question that you want to submit, look for the form in the show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can find our website, that'sabsurdshow.com, and go to /ask or just click ask a question. You can even call us on the phone and leave us a voicemail, 302-TAPE-SHOW, TAPESHO. We could not do this show without your questions, so thank you for everyone who has sent them in over the last few years. We have so many questions. We're so excited about it. And also thank you to our patrons, our absurd administrators, Les, Adam, Austin, Jonathan, Evan, Dan, Sabrina, The Brain, and Silver Skies. Oh, thank you guys so much. And also thank you to our newest patrons, Ella and Ellen. What an interesting coincidence. And of course, we have to thank our preposterous producer. This is new, Deboki. So we made a Patreon level that was just we thought it was a joke. No one would ever join. And then Pinky joined it. And we said the perk was that they get this ridiculously long name. Do you want to read Pinky's ridiculously long title?
Yes. So excited. Pinky of the House Patreon, the first of your name, the ridiculous, king of the absurd, the reruns and the first episodes, Bard of Aronson, Khaleesi of the Great Nerdy Cave, Spelunker of the Realm, Master of the Chill Upon the Chill, Regent of the Underworlds, True Knower of the Thumbnail, and Mother of Dagrons.
Wow, excellent. Excellent work. I hope we get some epic music under that. That was good.
Thank you.
So thank you, Pinky, for being our preposterous producer. Because of the support of these patrons, we can keep this podcast going. If you want to join, you can. You can go down into the show notes and join our Patreon. We appreciate every single one of you. If you don't want to join the Patreon and you want to support other ways, there are other ways to do that. You can leave us a review wherever you're listening right now. That's how Julian got out of the doghouse. So please leave more reviews. Somebody told me we should start reading our reviews, so maybe we'll start reading them here, although our outros are already pretty long. If you haven't, you can check out our show over on YouTube. Just go to the show notes and click on the link. That's a really complicated link. And then finally, of course, special thanks to those listening on Nebula, who just by listening are supporting the show. If you want to join, there's a link in the show notes to that too. We got so many links down there, y'all. You support the show by joining and by listening to the show on Nebula. But the last thing we do in every episode of the show is we say our catchphrase. Every episode, right, Deboki? We always say the same catchphrase.
Every single time.
Every time, which the catchphrase is upsuck.
Oh, sure is.
Upsuck. I actually thought I would read this this poem that I wrote.
Uh-huh.
You ever listened to SciShow Tangents?
Have I? Have I worked
you?
on it?
Yeah,
Have I
know.
written?
Right?
Have I ever made Hank say words?
Good. I wrote a poem about dreams.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Were you on the Dreams episode?
I was on the Dreams episode.
You were on the Dream. Oh, wowie.
What a coincidence,
Fun.
right?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna read my poem about dreams. Oh, by the way, if you can guess what all of these phrases have in common, I did not write any of these words. All of these words were stolen from some other art form.
Okay.
Only in dreams we see what it means. In every possible way, it's never quite as it seems. I know I've felt like this before, but now I'm feeling it even more. Life could be a dream. Boom, 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 shaboom. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. On a night when bad dreams become a screamer. Dreamer, you know you are a dreamer. Can you put your hands in your head? Oh no. There was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted. I can make you mine. Taste your lips of wine anytime, night or day. It felt so good, like anything was possible. Fly me high through the starry skies, or maybe to an astral plane. Walking down the line that divides me somewhere in my mind. Sweet dreams of rhythm and dancing. Sweet dreams of passion through the night. You think I'm pretty without any makeup on. You think I'm funny when I tell the punchline wrong. A dream is a wish your heart makes. You know it's true. Oh, all the things come back to you. I don't want another pretender, no, to disillusion me one more time. So baby, dry your eyes. Save all the tears you've cried. That's what dreams are made of. It's too bad that all these things can only happen in my dreams, because they're waiting for me. They're looking for me every single night. They're driving me insane. Get out of my dreams. Get into my car. Don't dream. It's over. That was from episode 245 of SciShow Tangents.
That's great. That's spectacular. That was a great poem.
It was long. Sorry. I get all sweaty when I read poems. I'm so sweaty now.
It's the only way to read a poem.
Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. We really appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Or hear you? I don't know. We'll do something.